Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Ann Dickinson, who is founder and president of Eye on Your Business. Welcome to the program, Ann.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's a pleasure being here.
Hey, so obviously from your title, Eye on Your Business, you work with business owners. How did you come to work with business owners?
Well, I had a long corporate career, and I did some consulting through the banks at a consulting outfit that went in when companies were in trouble, and so gained an awful lot of operational experience and investigative experience, I guess, at that point, and actually then took a left turn and became a starving artist for a number of years. And in the process, I opened a pottery studio. And when I did that with a fellow potter, we put together a pretty extensive business plan, went out and got funding. And I realized how much I enjoyed that. And after, in fact, not doing that great as the artist part, I left the studio, and at that point in 2009, it was, okay, well, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And that's when I opened what is now Eye on Your Business to help business owners improve their profits, cash flow, and operations. And it's because I love looking at different businesses and figuring them out and helping the owners really learn to run them better.
Yeah, and you mentioned focusing on operations and cash flow, and that presupposes that it's not necessarily a startup, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So what is
some of them are, some of them aren't. No.
Yeah. What is typically the business size that you are working with?
The business size actually varies up to about 5-10 million. And it can be, it's typically about $500,000 on the low end, but can be smaller sometimes. It really depends on where the business owner's mindset is and where their head is at about what they think they may need in terms of help. I mean, I come in as a third eye, right, as an outside perspective, and the business owner kind of has to recognize that that's a beneficial step to take.
Yeah, because the blinders are off from your perspective to things that have always been done this way, or you just kind of, you don't even recognize things that are right under your nose. So that third eye is really, really helpful. One thing that I would suspect is, or have a question of, is what is a trigger moment, or what is something that would trigger a business owner to say, I wonder if I do have some opportunity, whether it's $500,000 or $1 million a year in revenue, at what point should they say, what can you do for us?
It's kind of a matter of often they realize they don't know what they don't know in terms of how to run it. It can be that they started the business, they know the product or service cold, but the back-end business part is, crap, nuts. I have to do that, but I don't want to do it, and I don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And the numbers scare me. And they realize they need some help on that. They need they finally got to figure it out.
Yeah. And do these business sizes, the size of business that you work with, do they typically have a CFO in place, or do they typically have someone handling, maybe even an external CPA or bookkeeper? Because I would suspect that after a certain point of revenue, you can't do it yourself anymore. You're wearing too many hats, and so someone has to be doing it. But do you work more often with businesses that have a external CPA or bookkeeper, or the ones that actually have, an in-house CFO that is really taking a close look at their numbers?
More typically, the company has they almost always have some sort of outside CPA. They're not usually doing their taxes on their own. They may or may not have a bookkeeper. That's often actually a first step in saying, you know what, it's not a good use of your time to be doing this. You need to understand the numbers, but you should be off doing what your core expertise is. And unless you started a bookkeeping firm, it's probably not putting numbers in boxes. They don't typically have a full-on finance staff and a CFO. I mean, I'm often sort of referred to occasionally as the part-time CFO.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought, because some companies aren't big enough to have an in-house CFO type title, job title. But if you are coming in with that mindset of the third eye and looking for these profit leaks, when you do find opportunities, are you bringing them to the business owner's attention and saying, here's, these core, things I'm focusing on, and these are things you should do something with? Do you also provide something where they have this recommendation or sheet of recommendations and they're staring at you saying, I agree with every one of these, but now what?
Yes.
Yeah.
The short answer is yes. As I see things and come up with ideas or opportunities, certainly I'll present them. And if they would like help in implementing them, I'm happy to discuss that possibility. Ultimately, right, it's up to the business owner to make sure the stuff gets done.
Yeah, and many times I would suspect that there's a lot of the issues that you bring up are things that they can, kind of like hit their head like, wow, how come I didn't see this? And we can change this and address that, internally, tomorrow morning. So can you speak to, you mentioned profit leaks. What actually are profit leaks?
Great question. The way I define profit leaks is anything that's happening in your business that's causing the bottom line profit to be less than it could be. So profit leaks can happen on the expense side. Those are perhaps the more easily understood or intuitively understood. If costs are too high, either at a product level in terms of direct cost or in overhead or fixed expenses. Those are pretty easy to understand, but it also has to do with opportunities that haven't been taken advantage of or could be taken advantage of on the revenue side. And that can be it can be pricing, and it can also be are there other opportunities for instance, if you've got a seasonal business. And I've had clients like this where, they've got a really strong summer and winter business, but they've got a big gap in the spring and fall. And we've come up with ideas to fill those gaps and smooth out the cash issue and increase their revenue and their profits.
Or how about another idea regarding revenue could be like the old proven case study of McDonald's, would you like fries with that?
Yes.
And statistically, I think the number's like 30%, where when they started asking that, or would you like a apple pie with that order, it was about 30% of people that said yes. Well, they were already up to the register, pulling out their money or credit card, getting ready to pay, and the deal was done. The transaction was done, but yet they asked the question, and, oh, yeah, I'll take that. Well, that's a immediate
That's a fantastic
bottom line
idea. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of applications that you've seen where you could say, hey, at the point of sale, you've got these cross-sell opportunities or just add-on sales if you just ask the question, whether it's live or on the phone or on your website. What does that look like? What have you seen?
Those are great opportunities, and it comes down to what the specific business situation is. I deal a lot with, or have dealt a lot with consultants, and so there can be opportunities in that area to do it. I've dealt with auto body shops, for instance. They added even a point of sale display, a display of little things, cleaners and things like that at their checkout, at their cash register area. That was kind of, it's like having the display at the grocery store where all the candy is. You're just walking by. Oh, it's only a couple of bucks. Sure, let's add to it. So
yeah, that's an excellent point, because they're already there, and it gets put in front of them.
Right.
What are some of the common profit leaks that you see business owners when you're looking at their numbers and books? What are some of the common leaks that you see?
Well, I there are kind of 5 that I think are the biggest, and the biggest one actually is not even keeping current and accurate books, completely winging it, and going by feel, right? Why do I need to keep accurate books? I kind of know where I'm at. Well, you don't. And so therefore, there's almost no way you can't be leaking profits, because you don't know what's going on. Another one is trying to run the business from the online bank balance. And again, not from your accounting program, because the online bank balance it's not real time. It's close to real time,
but
it's not real time.
Outstanding.
Yes, exactly. And it also doesn't show, okay, what are the categories of expenses? Am I spending too much on marketing? Am I spending, is the cost of my products and services too high? And then not knowing your cost structure in detail. Do you really know what it costs to deliver your product or service? Because that's where kind of the rubber meets the road in terms of, okay, once you figure it out, how can I'm always working with business owners to say, okay, great. You deliver a product that the price is $20 and the cost is $10. Is there another way to deliver that same product or service at less cost to you, providing the same customer experience but costing you less?
Because that is pure profit, because the sale is already being made, and the delivery is already, going out from that sale. So how can you cut out? In fact, just the other night on The Profit with Marcus Lemonis, they were profiling a company that made the product in Chicago, would ship it to, I think it was Dallas, Texas, to a distribution outlet, and then they would send it out to the customer. And he found that there was 50 cents per bottle that was being added on for shipping it from Dallas. Well, all of a sudden, if you go, let's consolidate that, make it here, ship it from here, that saves tremendous amount, because when you can cut 50 cents off, then that's amplified by 100, 200, 300% in the final price to the customer, because you've got a wholesaler that has to mark it up, a retailer. So a lot of people might look at that and go, oh, if the margin is X and it's only 50 cents difference, that's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Well, A, it adds up, and B, it adds up with that amplification of all the levels that are involved.
Precisely. Another example, I had a client who was a limo company at one point, and the mindset was, any sedan I get has to be a Lincoln Town car. Well, it doesn't have to be a Lincoln Town car. There are other cars that are, provide the same comfort level, roughly size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was easy to demonstrate that by going with a different vehicle, it was, as I recall, a Toyota Avalon, I think. The company could save $15,000 per year per vehicle. I mean, that's a little more than lunch money.
Yeah.
Right?
And then to confirm that, if they did that and then they did like a quick exit, handed the client after the limo ride and said, hey, can you here's our iPad, can you take this 2-question survey? And one of the questions related to the vehicle, was it clean, was it luxurious, would you use it, whatever those questions would be.
Yes.
And then maybe at the end of the year they go, wow, we changed. Last year we had good ratings. This year we had good ratings. Maybe not dramatically better, but definitely not dramatically worse. Wow, nobody cared about that brand name. They went for the experience and the comfort, and they were just fine. And now here's our savings, and we were worried about that.
Exactly. I mean, the objective was to get to the airport, and yeah. I mean, I don't want to. Maybe they don't want to be in a smart car, but yeah. But
they're not going to stop. They're not going to put their hand on the handle and start opening the door, then shut it and go, oh, wait a minute, I just noticed the emblem on the front of the car was X, and I'm not going to. It's just not going to happen. That's a good example. Can you think of an obscure profit leak that you see that people, that you've seen here and there, and that really actually is a big impact, but people don't really think about it?
Well, I'll tell you an example. This isn't a client that I've had, but it's an example I use all the time because I was so impressed with it. It was actually an article in Business Week a number of years ago where the Gap was trying to figure out how to cut costs. And they had some people come in and look at, okay, what clothes, are there ways they can save money in the manufacture of their clothing? And they looked specifically at men's pants. And more specifically, somebody said, hey, how many men actually use a pocket watch anymore? I mean, do you?
I don't know anyone.
No. I don't know anyone who does. By removing that watch pocket, they were able to cut 50 cents a pair of pants out of their cost. Well, they're making millions of pairs of pants.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, where's your watch pocket, right? It's all about continuing to think, ooh, what could I do, right? Can I change out the vehicle in terms of cutting costs? Can I do other things in terms of bringing in cash flow quicker? I was talking to a client yesterday about, they've got a bit of a cash imperative right now. It's like, okay, here's some ideas about maybe what you can do. Pre-sell some advertising. There's no real significant cost to you, but you could bring in a bunch of cash ahead of next year, ahead of some other things that are happening. And, look at it. Just keep your eyes and ears open, really, is my biggest message, which is both hard and easy.
Yeah, and I would also think that there's a strong percentage of time that business owners can't see the forest for the trees from the aspect that they're too close. So,
absolutely.
Even just bringing in external people like yourself, or even just bringing in, I'm not going to call it a board of directors, but like let's think of it like a focus group of people they trust that have some business, operational, and finance kind of a background where they could go, all right, this quarter, here's what we're doing, and kind of give them some high level, maybe look at our invoices, look at our this and that, and pick some hot spots. And I would think that invariably those people could go, well, I don't know your business all that well, but have you thought about, or why are you keep doing? And I think that just keeping things fresh that way would be huge. So if you could kind of wrap up the thought with, if business owners could do one thing to improve their business, what would that be?
If they could do one thing to improve their business, there's so many to choose from, but I'm going to go with really broaden your vision and really sort of think outside it has to be a Lincoln Town Car.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your mind going about, and if somebody comes up with an idea, don't immediately say, yeah, that'll never work.
Mm-hmm.
Let it float around. And, okay, I have to throw in the other one, keep current accurate books.
There's the bonus. You picked one and then give us a bonus.
There's the bonus, right.
Awesome. Well, how can people, if a business is wondering about their profit leak potential, how can they learn more about your program and your service and your book?
My website is www.ionyourbusiness.net, ionyourbusiness.net. And yes, I have an ebook that I'd like to make available to your audience, and that is at ionyourbusiness.net/ebook.
Excellent. And that book will be helpful to kind of point out some opportunities to look for.
Absolutely.
And then some ways that you can potentially work with them to recover some of those leaks. So thank you so much for your time on the interview today, Ann.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.